I almost said France, wants to, almost wanted to take two on that. We're going to take two on that. It's been a minute.
That hasn't happened in a while.
I know.
Space pants.
And welcome back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Space France wants Steam to let you resell the games you don't own. And that could lead to some unintended consequences. And do you have some extra buttons on your dribble? I know I do. I want to show you how to use them, make use of them, put them to use, macros, all that fun stuff. It's going to be magic.
Linux are better than Windows. That and more hyperbole brought to you by Mark Campbell, coming soon. And ACO has made it into mainline Mesa. Stop vibrating, Radeon users. You still got some waiting to do.
The library update beta did indeed drop during the summer, technically. We're going to tell you how we feel about it, and the Linux driver development is continuing to clue in the mainstream media. This time, maybe we'll see a low-end Navi.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I would just like to apologize because that linguistic nope cascade was started by me, and
yes,
yeah, my bad. Anyway, before we get started, like for real, we do like to see what's going on in everyone's life organs. By the way, I'm Vin Stone, here at LGC Actual, switching the bits, doing the Nightmare Fuel under Linux. That is one Jordan's Fang, the soon-to-be frozen Canadian, and that bootless wonder down there from Britannia.
Yeah. Where my goddamn boots, Oliver?
Old Pedro No Boot Mateus.
I thought you were going to call him a bootlicker for a second there.
No, man, no. Together with you, joining us. Hey, we have Twitch tied together with IRC and Discord together in Chat Realm Dynamic, being sexy, as always, helping us form Cocaine Voltron. But what's new with you? Oh, Pedro, your card came in. You put it in a thing, and it did a stuff.
It did quite a lot of stuff. It did much better than I expected. So yeah, if you haven't been paying attention, I've been building a really cheap PC over the past couple of weeks. And the RX 570, one that actually works, finally came in, put it in, ran some games through it. I posted the pictures on Discord. It does surprisingly well. It's got very good performance for a 306-pound PC. Like, just the PC case, brand new power supply, but everything else was off eBay, used, as cheap as I could get, with the best possible performance, and it does very, very well. So I'll be doing the rest of the benchmarks soon, and a bit of a video for y'all to enjoy.
Take the pictures. That's going to be brilliant, man. So,
yes.
Jordan, I heard that you were in a sushi eating contest earlier today.
I wouldn't call it a contest.
I just did, son.
It was more of like what happens when you have like two black holes competing over the same thing they're trying to like spaghettify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you been up to anything?
No, I've just been busy at work, man. Like my life has just been like trying to get everything done so that I can get my bonus. So I can afford a fancy new computer next year. I mean,
fair enough. Decent enough priorities, man. Over here at LGC Actual. First off, we do like to give. We're cleaning out my humble library, and this week we're going to be handing out a copy of Tooth and Tail. So I want to say good luck to everyone watching the produced version at home on the YouTubes. There's your first key. 3 parts. Fish it out. It's really easy. I haven't done a whole lot, man. I've been playing around with that new gerbil, making it do things, figuring out how to like get the macros, but more on that at 11. Nothing terribly exciting. We were talking the pre super shows, and I was telling Pedro, I've set a new record for the amount of days in a row with my car keys just sitting in the front door. And that was 3.
Oh, nice. Oh. I always get paranoid about that too. It's like, especially when you can't find your keys, like, did I leave them in the door? And then did someone steal them?
No one bothered. So
that's a little sad, but also kind of good, I guess. Speaking of sad and good, what's the horse up to? I think I don't know. Usually someone says that to me.
Yeah,
it's the Steam.
update of the week.
It's going to be a fun one, kids. Buckle up.
Yes,
Buckle
that
up,
was quite
buckaroos.
the introduction to the new Steam Library beta. It's finally here. You probably, if you're running the beta clients, you're already running with it and kicking the tires to see how well it performs. And I can tell you right off the bat, I don't hate it. I really don't. They did break one thing, which was the GPU acceleration, because the previous Steam library didn't have like a web view thing. This one is all web view all the time. So if you have web view GPU acceleration enabled for the beta, it will cause some really weird stuff. Artheron ran into that until he disabled the GPU acceleration. And after that, he ran into the same issue I ran into, which is very high CPU utilization when you so much as scroll down the list. And yeah, I saw like one of the CPU cores on my 3700X jump to like 30-something%. He saw 65%. That's significant. And one of the things that it does that I noticed is when you go to a specific game, if you keep scrolling down, you keep seeing like the community stuff. So, couple of heads ups. If you go to the Skyrim page, mind you're scrolling, there's a lot of porn. Like, a lot of porn.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
There's a lot of
Can you describe some of it?
Yeah. Slowly.
There's a lot of
Wait,
weeaboo shit around audio surf for some reason.
I've always wanted to have Morgan Freeman read Skyrim descriptions to me.
Hello, Dragonborn.
Too real.
That's drifting into Vincent Price as well. So the other thing this was sort of on my wish list for the new library is like making the Steam controller configs a little more accessible, which they are. It's on the main page now. If you click on a game, you can like actually hit the controller config without right clicking on the game menu item, but it still pops out the little GIMP big picture mode thing. So it's an improvement, but progress. I don't hate it though. I hate it because it's new. That's really it.
I think there's a little bit of that. Initially, I was like, okay, we're definitely going to see some blowback. And it's like, it's new, ready, and 100% on that. My first impression was like, well, aren't you a bit shouty? And with just, the pictures and stuff like that. I'm old, easily confused. I did like, though, immediately when I was like, how do I just get this to show the installed game? So I started playing around with the dynamic grouping and filters. That's fucking neat, man. I like that. Wasn't as bad as I thought. It was like, oh, you can just give me a category of all the unplayed games. It's like, what's the damage on this, Brad? And it wasn't bad. It was either 100 or 300 or something like that. So,
yeah, I have I mean 460 something games I haven't played yet.
Yeah, just things I haven't touched. And this is great because these are Linux games. I didn't have it on the show everything. I did have issues, which I think people are going to be running into. I know, Jordan, you fought around it. It just flat refused to work. That game we're throwing the chairs at this week would not launch the overlay in the beta at all. I had to revert back.
Yeah, it took a couple tries, like switching from like full screen to window mode. You need to cycle it, shut it down, start it up again, and then overlay started working for me. But I don't know. It's one of those weird things where it's a beta, right? Not everything's supposed to work right out of the box. This is the purpose of it, is to validate that these things are working and to find issues.
Yeah,
Surprise!
I rolled it back and then I rolled it forward again. And then it had an issue like launching and like showing, so I had to go to store. Then I had to restart. It's going to be rocky, kids, but get in there, play with it, kick it in the junk, and report back to us. Hey, Blinky shit.
Yeah, that's one of the new additions to the library. One of the things
that this library update introduced was a little bit of a glowy outline to those more rare achievements that you happen to get on a video game. And from my experience, it seems that it's like achievements that less than 10% of people who have played that game have achieved it. Are the ones that get the little glowy outline. And it actually moves around. That's just a still, but it actually moves around and does the flashy stuff. And apparently I have quite a few of those in Dirt Rally and Mad Max, apparently. Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
you got to give people that Pavlovian response, right? If they, like, the idea is to get people to stare at the library page more, because then it will start like feeding the recommendation engine. So making things like shiny and glowy and making people spend more time in the Steam client that way, I think, is a way to do it. I guess got to give that Pavlovian stimulus. Ring that bell. Start that druid, man.
Dude, I'm on the far end of that. I'm like, wait, I didn't know I had. Oh, there they are. Oh, okay. That's definitely a thing. But it did make me dig around, like foil cards. Apparently, I have a couple of foil cards that are like is 600 gems a lot?
You're better off selling them in the market for.
Oh,
like
sweetheart, I will never, ever.
Pedro, I genuinely think less of you now that you could actually answer that question so quickly.
Litmus test. You're not the real Morgan Freeman. He would know.
Morgan Freeman made $7,000 off Steam trading cards, you guys.
With this one simple trick.
Gaben hates him.
Okay, it's time to switch.
Oh my God, Linux is the best ever. I mean, it kind of is. This is from OC3D.net. There's a Mark Campbell article. He's saying that Far Cry New Dawn actually has pretty good performance parity under Proton using DXVK with Windows 10 version, and can actually deliver a more consistent frame time experience. Which this As Datsujin and the DXVK guys continue to chug on, this is going to become more and more common. We've seen this in a couple of games already. We've talked about it on the show. You should go and watch those old episodes. Don't do it. It's really bad. But yeah, as time goes on, DXVK and Proton will enable. They're even saying right now that in some cases they're actually able to outperform the native DirectX 11 implementation using something like DXVK. So it's going to become more commonplace.
Ninja Automatic Tomato with the yeah, that was showing better performance with the Radeon.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about another big improvement that's coming down the pipe in Mesa in the news section, but it continues to get better. Valve is investing their money wisely. They're funding projects that will enable gameplay under Linux to be as smooth as possible for games that weren't written for Linux, and that's pretty great.
Yeah, the performance is certainly getting there. It's been getting considerably better, especially since Valve started to throw money at developers like DixVix and D9Vix and Codeweavers and everyone else. But it is, right now, the one thing that's still annoying a lot of people, myself included, is the DRM/anti-cheat software that some games come bundled with. Looking at you, Easy Anti-Cheat. That's, I mean, they're
working on it.
To be sorted out.
They're working on it, and they're depending on how much tinfoil you care to wrap around your head. There may be some external reasons named Tim that's maybe moving a little more slowly than people would like. But I mean, it's at the end of the day, this is really just nice to have as a talking point, because we can point to saying like, hey, these games run better under Linux than they do under Windows. People aren't going to install Linux. They don't want to do that.
Well, this is like the whole argument. Every time I see it brought up, and it's like, is Linux ready yet? Where people are going to switch? That's the wrong question to ask. It has nothing to do with Linux, because what you're really asking are you trying to target people willing to install a new operating system? That's the real question, because unless the answer is yes to that, it could do a billion things better than Windows.
It could hand out free blowjobs, and they're still not going to install it.
They're like, no, it's what I've already got, and it does the thing, and no. So yeah, and I know you're like, but what about System 76, Dell, and it. Yeah.
They're providing an option, but again, it's not at the forefront. It's for people who have already made the decision to use Linux and want a computer that has that support.
This is true.
Yeah,
this is true. Okay, we got a couple
speaking of Proton, there's a new version out, 4.11-5. Apparently, there was a couple bugs with 4.11-4 involving input devices, so that's fixed. Apparently, there's also some other issues where if you're using a controller and the AMD GPU Mesa driver, shit was bad. But that has been fixed now. Apparently that causes performance issues. I don't even know how that's possible, but life finds a way. There's some f-sync improvements as well, and nothing. Yeah, this is basically just a maintenance release. They broke something in -4 and they fixed it in -5. You can pull this if you have the Steam beta. If you haven't messed around with any of your Proton configs, you're already using it, so have fun.
one of the issues that Proton 4.11.4 introduced was games running in virtual desktops and semi-transparent windows were having some issues. So that's an awfully specific use case.
Oh,
I get the virtual desktops. I get the virtual desktops. Semi-transparent windows?
There is some compiz user who's like, no man, it's unplayable because I need to have my fully transparent desktop, and if I can't see all the windows behind all the other windows, then I will literally die.
Dude,
I don't.
We don't transparent window shame. Not on this show.
No, we will wobbly window shame though.
Yes, constantly. No more. Okay, this is the big one. A lot of people are talking about it. Even people don't know what the hell they're talking about, and it doesn't stop them from writing about it. Valve will appeal the French court's ruling that Steam cannot ban resale of dematerialized games. And Valve's been fighting this for a minute, man. There's a French group that have been right up Valve's urethra about making this a thing. But the update to this, Doug, Lombardi, he's responded. He's like, yo, man, we disagree with this decision. And this is what, like, this Paris Ultra Mega Voltron Court and all that fun stuff. But there's still an option to appeal it, and they're going to fight it all the way through. So what they want is, for me, it feels like they just have a very base misunderstanding of how this works. Is because I think all of us know, and everybody listens, is like, you don't own the game. You just get a license to play the game. And that's kind of what it says, in the fine print, the mice type that you might not ever read. But this would be, you would be able to sell that license in the used market, much like you would with physical goods. Okay. Even if you do get that passed, good luck making Valve facilitate that. I don't see how that's going to work. Valve, of course, as we said, is going to appeal. And I started digging around because I like numbers. Me and numbers get along on occasions, usually on Tuesdays after 4 p.m. 66.99 at last census for Space Friends. That's exactly the population of 2 Californias. And I honestly, at that number, because I thought it would kind of be more than that, I don't see Valve doing this, but not beyond being a non-option of Valve just tapping the no button. Like, yeah.
Well, the article brings up that Valve has capitulated with countries like Australia in implementing like a refund policy, but yeah, as Sven mentioned, like the reality of the situation, I really do think it's one of these areas where the law is unable to keep up with technology just because it's moved so fast, and there's not enough nuanced understanding, at least in the courts or in the legal system, to facilitate an actual solution. Because what do you do for games where you have to buy the initial game, but then it's an ongoing subscription, and the value is actually tied to the account and not necessarily the game itself? What about DLC? What about separate end-user license agreements outside of Steam that would need to be negotiated? There's a lot of hurdles.
Well, you got to think, how many times have you had to click on, we played speedrunners recently? There's an additional license you have to agree with.
Exactly. So how are you supposed to contend with it? It's unreasonable to try and force a company to essentially crawl through the end-user license agreement in terms of service of every single game on their service to ensure that they enable some sort of license transfer. Hopefully the appeal will go through, because it's the reality is just, you, like you said, you don't own anything. It's a license.
I don't think that's going to stop France from France.
Or DRM free games, for example. Like, yeah, I've sold you the game, but I still have the game, right? I can still play it.
As a consumer, I like the idea of like, okay, well, I could transfer my license and maybe get some coin for all the stuff. Now, this would G2A would have a field day with this. But here's the word of warning I would like to just throw out there. If you want Steam to become a subscription-only service a la Netflix, this is a good way to go about it. Okay? Keep that in mind. Where you own nothing, you just pay your monthly tithe and you get access. Now, then again, I wouldn't be against that either. I was like, Valve, let me rent games, give me that Netflix model.
Yeah, let me pay, say, £10 a month and get access to the entire Steam library.
All you could eat, 20 pounds a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But
Never leave the house.
yeah, from Valve's like from where they currently are, they're looking at a lot of lawsuits and court proceedings in Europe. They want to go to court with the EU itself to stop people from shopping around and going into like other regions to get games cheaper and then use their games in whatever country they live in, which is something that the EU allows as part of the whole free market thing. Now, they intend to prolong this court issue with France to try and stop people and, you know, try to stop setting a precedent or to not set a precedent at all about game reselling or game transferring or whatever this ends up being. And then you also have Epic that's siphoning games away from Steam and making them exclusive. Haha, snuck one in. So at this point, what the hell are you doing, Valve? Seriously. What the hell?
Trying to not pay €500,000, which is quite frankly nothing for Valve. But
dude, I don't know, man. I really want to say, like, if I didn't have the understanding of like how it worked and like you don't really own the games, if I was absent that information, I could probably sit back and go, yes, give me this. I can sell all these old games.
The knee-jerk reaction is definitely in favor of it, but
yeah, it's like I knew what I signed up for when I signed up for it. Now, then again, I didn't use Valve until what, 2015. So yeah, there's that. Okay, what do we got up next? Dota, everyone's favorite game.
Oh yeah,
you got it, you love it, and banhammers, man. I mean, not perma banhammers, but decade banhammers.
I mean, technically, it's to the end of the
38, right up in your face, man. And you know what? When I first tried to like get to the actual article on Steam about this, we're 19-year bans, man. They're not really 19-year. Oh, don't you want to believe that? Trying to get to Steam, right? Okay, hang on. Since go ahead, Pedro, fill in what I was getting to.
See, that date, January 19, 2038, is the same date that Linux would stop working because it was using time as a 32-bit unsigned integer.
Yeah, yes, the epoch problem, which is not actually a problem anymore because we have a 64-bit operating system now. But I just looked at that and I was so happy that it's just to the end of the next Unix epoch because that's such an obscure thing that like people in this podcast would get, and that's it.
That's definitely a thing. What I saw about it, Steam was legitimately getting hammered on by the script kiddies that were all angry on that 100%, man. And they're going deep with this. They are. I mean, this is doing the whole email, phone, IP, trackatron linking thing. So you get fucked, Brad. And you know what? I'll tell you what. If you're going to be a habitual dipshit, you deserve each and every year. Come at me.
In before LinuxGameCast is DDoS next week.
Cloudflare.
But yeah, I was reading the article, and apparently you need to put in your phone number in order to register your account to go into the ranked battles in Dota 2. If you have to type in your phone numbers to queue up to the ladder, you should know to play nice. Anyway.
This is kind of the problem you deal with anything that's freemium, right? Or free to play with. Yeah.
Yeah. Low barrier to entry results in bad actors trying to take advantage of it.
And it's part of this is also trying to curb the Smurf accounts and the all of the side accounts that people have and they use to try and cheat. That's going to take some doing, Valve.
Indeed. Dicey Dungeons, we threw chairs at it last week. It's a fun game. They got an update. Terry Kavanagh has pushed out 1.4. You get some Steve achievements now.
Steve achievements?
Steve achievements.
Yes.
It's because it's the Steve Linux update of the week. We got to find out what's going on with Steve, right? But yeah, there's also some quality of life stuff that they introduced, like not punishing you for clicking on the wrong thing in the store. You can sell things back without having to lose half the money. Further balance optimizations, because there were a couple missions that were just a little too grindy and not fun. They're saying that there's more coming down the pipe. There's going to be some more translations as well. The development continues, and Terry's going to Terry, right?
Yeah,
That's how it do. I enjoyed Dicey Dungeons. I'm glad that it's going to continue to get support.
This Dicey Dungeons is very much the kind of game that I enjoy just sitting down and playing every now and then.
It's a coffee break game.
Yeah, it's the episodes are really short, and they're introducing more stuff and fixing some of the balance issues. I, for one, couldn't deal with the thief character at all.
The thief was great.
I enjoyed the robot.
The whole thief thing is just like stack as much poison as you absolutely can and split as just do like 1 damage pings, ping, 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 ping. I had like 4 rows of dice with the thief. It was pretty great. I'm just like, yes, now you die.
I didn't mind the game. It's good that it's getting updates because it seems, for all intents and purposes, according to you two, and you play a lot of that RTS stuff, not TBS. It's a good game. Right on. 100%. Hey, you know something that's not a good game? Natural Selection 2. I'm not being, you're being the mean Linux person. You're being toxic. No, I'm just going to be honest with you. The developers came out and they're like, yo, man, you know this game that's been out for like 5 or 6 years? It never worked right on Linux. They even came out and said that, which I'm going to say good on you a lot. And they're like, hey, man, lack of a budget, dedicated Linux client developer. This has always been my nope to desktop game. And I've had it since day one, and I've only managed to put 2 hours into it. And it's still currently available. But their solution to going forward, because they're not even in parity anymore with the clients, but there's still the Linux beta client. You can get that drop-down menu if you still want to use that. But they're like, hey, man, if you want to keep playing, you got to use the Proton, which, like, okay. I took the Pepsi challenge. See, Linux is no longer listed on the Steam store. Taking that Pepsi challenge with the latest and greatest Proton, it didn't freeze the system. It just hung, and I was able to alt-tab, shift-tab, then get hold to it and close it. But out of continued curiosity, they never, initially when this game launched, like the load times were ludicrous. We're talking like Deus Ex, ludicrous on that initial load. But it got better. It was like, could make yourself a cup of tea and come back load time. Still crashy, but and it get almost playable. I logged in. It's like, okay, what are we looking at? Exactly one server, 24 players, full, max 24, private. And it's like, that's the community to the game, which I say good on them, and they're keeping it alive. But Pedro is kind of with you. I had that same thought.
Yeah, it's like, because I remember them saying that Valve, a while back, they went in and removed the Steam OS icon from all the games that claimed to work on Linux, and they actually didn't. And Natural Selection 2 was one of the ones that got the icon removed. It was just like, oh, okay, so they're probably not even going to bother developing it anymore, because it's never worked properly, like Ven already mentioned. So when Ven posted this story in the notes, I'm like, that was still there? Really?
Well, yeah, I guess you could download it, but you got to remember that Natural Selection 2's development process has been fraught with issues ever since the original development team, how you say, gave up and foisted it onto the community. Much, yeah. So yeah, they even go on to say like, yeah, we're a community. We don't have a dedicated Linux developer. We just ignored it because we didn't have the talent or the knowledge or the drive to learn how to do things. So
I'm going to say good on them because they've managed to keep it going. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. Now we got to do this? Fine. But having the responsibility to be like, listen, man, we don't Linux, and we're not going to pretend we do, and we don't want to continue like taking money from people who are expecting something that works.
Yeah. Compare and contrast like Rust, right? Where there was quite a bit of victim blaming going on in that Rust post. This is the Natural Selection devs going, you know what? This is on us. We fucked up. It's unfair to Linux users to make them pay full price for a port that doesn't work. There's a better solution. Just use that.
Yeah, and they're actively fixing the issues with Proton because, hey, those are issues with Windows, technically.
Well, that's also that. Yeah. And it's something that is what they know how to do. So, hey, again, you can still use the last beta client. That, I mean, it does still work and it still connects for now. Just keep that in mind. We do have a couple of new games before we get out of here.
We
Chop,
do.
chop, making
And the
bodies
first one
drop.
Is Chop. It's a 2D party game with tons of gore and fast-paced action, or so the little blurb claims. It's
hi,
it's
Frank.
Yeah, it's one of those 2D fighting games that's got fully rendered 3D models, but you only play in 2Ds because, it's not overly expensive. It's like £7.99, so I'm guessing that's $9.99 over in the US. It's
Towerfall.
It looks generic.
No, hey, listen, I remember playing Shank.
Yeah. Yeah,
Shank was hand drawn and looked really nice. The art for that game looked really nice.
This looks like, oh, dude, all right, fuck you. This looks like Mark of the Ninja and Shank had a babby.
Yeah.
Listen, all right.
Those were nicely drawn. These, no.
I mean, it looks like it could be a fun enough party game. Like I said, it's kind of Tower Fall-y in the sense that, yeah, you have an arena, you're trying to jump around and stab people, you have a limited ammo supply, but everyone has a unique mechanic. Like one guy can teleport, one guy can ask you a question, the other guy just like, I don't know, Yoshimitsu impales himself and tries to like kill other people. I don't know. I mean, it's
very much like the first version of Towerfall. It's local multiplayer only.
Yeah, which is
I got to be 100% with you. I was right up to it. I was like, well, $9.99. We could just pick up a couple of copies. Oh, no, never mind. All right, fine. Next.
Again, we got to bring you back to that flow chart. Does your game have local multiplayer? It should have online multiplayer.
Correctamundo. Yep. It's a sin.
And one that doesn't even pretend to have any sort of multiplayer is Sin Slayers. It is
Sin's Layers?
Layers of
Sin
sin.
Slayers. Yes. They describe it as an RPG with roguelike elements, and basically what you have a little party of characters and you do your turn-based combat, and then your actions, the actions that your characters take, or the questionable choices that you decide to make, are sort of what dictates how the game plays out. And depending on how they do it and how much they decide to dick you over when you start fucking with the game, it could be interesting. It could probably not, full-on Darkest Dungeon level, but could be close.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the morality system is interesting. It's a nice touch to actually tie it to the game's difficulty, where like it's trying to use some ludonarrative techniques to like encourage you to play the game in a specific way, which I'm always for, because it's neat game design stuff, and I'm a sucker for it. I mean, from a JRPG perspective, it looks all right. I definitely like the art style. I might actually try it out. It's $18, so
That's not bad.
That might be a wait for like a winter or summer sale to see if you can nab it for a little cheaper, but
Winter is coming.
brace yourselves.
Hey man, it's not Aeon Flux, it's Aeon's End.
Yeah, the end of the Aeon is coming too. This is it's a deck building game, sort of like a Dominion, where it does a kind of Slay the Spire type thing as well. Actually, the layout really reminds me of Hearthstone. But what the interesting riff on the deck building game genre is that normally once you ditch all the cards in your hand and your deck is empty, you shuffle your discard back into
I really
your.
like listening to Australians saying deck building, because it always comes across as dick building.
Dick building, yeah. Oh yeah,
Building.
I'm working on my dick.
But yeah, the idea is the order in which you discard the cards basically persists, so you can like kind of set yourself up for combos later on, which is a little interesting. I like that in terms of a card game. But yeah, questionable lack of online multiplayer. That's another one where, hey, it's a card game. Wouldn't you want to play that with your friends over the internet? No, local multiplayer only.
But wait a minute, Mr. Game. If we're all together anyway, couldn't we just like play with the regular cards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And one of the ways that they describe it's like, oh, it's a magic-based card battle game. It's like, wait, When you say magic base, is this just because you're playing as a bunch of mages?
No, they ship you PCP.
Or oh, okay, that kind of magic. All right, I'm willing
Fairy
to pay
dust.
the £13.99 for that if that's the case.
That could be a thing, man.
Virtual PCP enema. Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you. Card games, don't care about them. But hey, man, maybe you do. That's neat. Yeah, multiplayer. Make that a thing.
Local multiplayer for $20. I don't know. Coming up next, we start mining the Mesa source control to find out when new AMD video cards are coming out. And also we talk about the glorious release of our latest kernel and how it's going to fix all your problems.
Well, there was an offer during this bit of an intermission we had as to sending us nudes. Honestly,
that's just like you, Morgan Freeman, always asking for nudes after you're done begging
honestly,
for bits.
you do you. But we will get into the news a bit later on, so don't go anywhere. Jordan's going to do a bit of a spiel now, so stick around.
I am, because if you don't want to send us some nudes, in fact, you want to do the opposite, we got something for you. If you head on over to teespring.com/get-lonely.
Dude, you know, I like how you do that. You just go to LinuxGameCast.com, the support button. There's a merch thing right under there.
I mean, that's true. But I want to make you type in a URL because I'm a sadistic fuck. Yes,
this is Linux.
You could just go to store.linuxgamecast.com too.
href equals / no.
Oh no, you got to bust out Telnet and start opening up a connection manually. Start typing in HTTP commands. You can get a brand new shirt. I mean, if you feel that you need to promote Linux usage,
you're not going to show the love for their standard boring shit like the Francophone.
No, fuck that amateur hour shit. We got this good shit going on here. Yeah, to promote Linux usage, we figure have a picture of a Linux's mascot with the simple phrase "Use me."
I warned everyone, man. I warned you, freaks. I was going to make a shirt that I would wear. There it is. It's called the Lonely Penguin because you know what? Penguins need love too. And hey, it has the added benefit of people aren't even going to fuck with you on this one. They're just like, you know what? All right, just keep going. Don't make
that's the kind of shirt you look at someone wearing it and go, yeah.
That's the kind of shirt that results in people giving you a wide berth if you're walking down the sidewalk. So if you hate people, this is the perfect apparel for you.
Well, it's definitely one of those things. Is like Frenchie's going to order this one. I know. He's going to show up in Canada. He's just like, use me.
Indeed. But yeah, we also there's another store that you can go to.
I like that pause, Pedro. You could hear the thought of like, too real, bro.
Do I go there or do I not?
Oh, he's going there. It's not going to be optional. He's going to be like,
I mean, it's going to be muffled because I'm going to roll on top of them. But
hot.
Yeah.
All right.
That's something else. But yeah, we got another store. Technically, if you go to our Amazon store through that aforementioned contact ribbon on our website, you can see what we use to make this show.
We do. We got that.
Yeah, and maybe you want to replicate it. Maybe you want to do some of your own Linux podcasting. This is the easy way. This removes a lot of the trial and error of like what hardware actually functions.
No, man, I want to guess. I want to spend like 7 years trying to figure out.
I mean, you do you, fam. We also got some Amazon wish zones if you want to buy some stuff for myself.
I was thinking about that. First, watch this. Boom. There's the second part of that key for Tooth and Tail. I'm a dick. What is? I was looking over the wish zone. We have one for the studio, and Pedro has one, and Jordan has one. Pedro's got some soundproofing for that fucking wall on his. I highly recommend that. What's the most? Here's why. All right, here's what I was really thinking about it. I was looking over your wish zone because Pedro got Jill a game controller. I was like, I need to get Jordan something. Trying to find the most dick thing to get that would force you to have to buy something else because I love you. That's what I'm trying to
did you buy me those 45-pound plates?
No, because all right, that crossed my mind. Because it's like, well, you got to carry that, don't you? And
I got to install a squat rack in this apartment. Yeah.
But like a two-piece thing, man. We do have one for the studio. There's nothing really left to torture me on.
You should buy him just the Threadripper.
Yeah,
Let's see.
Fuck you, no.
Buy Vent that switch so he can drop it on his foot again.
that.
Actually, if you want to see some video component for the pre Super Chosen, which you can get for being a Patreon, that's a segue. You can maybe get them that NVMe drive. But yeah, we got a bunch of cool stuff available to our Patreons if you head on over to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. You can get access to the Discord. You can get your name in the credits. You can even RSVP to game streams. We were playing Broforce. We were doing also Tricky Towers. So if you want to play some games with us and you're a patron, you absolutely can. All you got to do is ask us.
Thank you, Vera, to do it. Nice to be in control of hardware. Hey, man, you do get early access because I like to beta test things. One thing, you get live, and I've got Jordan mentioned all that fun stuff. But if I'm working on a video, I'll throw that business up on the Patreon. I'm like, hey, man, take a look at it. Do you see something wrong with it? You got some ideas for it? We do have that type of thing going down. And hey, it's community funded. That all the money goes right back in the show. And we try to make it better with that. That and Flaming Hot Cheetos. I mean, that's like our two main cost expenditures right there. And you know, we have to pay for Morgan Freeman. He doesn't come cheap.
That's true. But yeah, becoming a Patreon also gets you access to an extra hour of content in the pre-Super Chosen, which may soon have a video component if we get enough reception for that, right, Ven?
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. And we have everyone here on Frank's Wall. These are people who've helped put together the studio, because anything you pick up off the wish list goes for all three of us. We have to read out what review type, which is a stupid idea that I came up with.
Right. I'm actually using one of the Amazon letters as a coaster right now. So.
And I have a stock of them on the desk, man. We have room for the one last one for the 2.0 wall. And that will always be part of any incarnation of horseshit that we come up with. And it's the best horseshit. Anyway.
Indeed. Speaking of horseshit, let's talk about some AMD cards.
Well, they aren't as bad nowadays as they were not too long ago, but, well, there's still some rampant speculation going on based on the new commits that were introduced to the Mesa stack, and when those... Yeah,
bro, your page
works so well.
Bro.
There were a couple of commits sent to Mesa Master, and one of them was labeled as urgent. So, of course, PC Games then caught wind of that, and it's like, urgent? What do you mean urgent? Oh, they're going to be introducing support for the Navi 12 and Navi 14 cards, and that is the urgent commit. And so, rampant speculation abound. They're saying that maybe, according to the Mesa release schedule, it may those new cards may be available starting October 15. Again, rampant speculation.
So wait a minute. These are going to be slower than the 5700 XT?
Yes. These are going to be the ones to replace the RX 580, 570, 560, 550. Like those tiers, because the 5700 and the 5700
are those cards going to get
XT.
even cheaper? Good luck, AMD. I don't think you thought this one all the way through.
Because like the price point for the like top end Polaris cards is still pretty good at this point, and they just get cheaper as it gets older and older. I mean, that's the thing. It's going to be sucking power. If you're worried about your power bill, maybe you want to hold out for these guys. But yeah. And even then, like, because we all know that Mesa is really, really timely with their hardware support as well. So maybe if you're considering going with an AMD card, the 570, 580 is still probably the way to go if you want to actually be able to use the card now.
Man. Well, I'll tell you what, really, I wanted for Da Vinci was the Radeons. Anybody got a Radeon 7 laying around that you're like, I don't need this old piece of junk? Call me.
That HBM2 though.
That's what I wanted for the memory. This will be the instance of the being in the system, never having a display plugged into it. But then they're like, we're not going to make that anymore. It's like, dicks! Because then the price went right.
As it turns out, the 5700 and the 5700 XT came very close to the performance of the Radeon 7 with slower memory. But as far as games were concerned, they did very well. And they are not bad video cards. The 5700 XT is almost as good as Jordan's 1080 Ti, almost. So AMD clearly stepped up the game. So that's
they were
very
talking
good to see.
about the on PC Percy. Hey guys, I watched.
Hi, Scoot.
Jeremy was talking about one of the, because now we're getting the aftermarket with the 5700 XTs. And they were talking about one that was like something like $489. Like, dude, that is way too close to a 2070 Super.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at that price, don't. I'm just saying, pro tip, don't. And you're like, you just hate. I have a you Threadripper, so don't talk to me about AMD.
All right? Well, keeping on the AMD train, we're talking about not being able to use Navi cards right away. Well, you still kind of can't. There's kernel support. Linux 5.3 was released this week. The big thing there is, the AMD GPU driver will have Navi support built in, although it's a little sketchy, and also you're gonna have to build your own Mesa for that. The one thing I'm actually genuinely excited for is they opened up the 0.0.0.0/8 subnet. So now I look forward to looking through like access logs and being like 0.255.255.2. What the fuck is this? Katana Steel brought up, like 0.1.0.1 is also now a valid IP address.
Dude, that's a weird flex.
Yeah.
I know we're going to save it for the hate mail segment, but under and over, so this is more like step one of like putting your 5700 into the box and just
it will work now.
It will. You can get X on it, right?
Yeah.
Safe bet.
You probably won't get proper 3D acceleration without the AMD GPU Pro, but it will. The kernel will know. Oh, that's a GPU. Okay, send the video signal to that.
Yeah, the default display driver will work. But we're still gonna have to wait for at least like Mesa 19.2 to
19.3.
19.3 now to get the full support. I mean, there's stuff in the Git Mesa for support for that, so you can build it if you want at your own risk. But speaking of Mesa, pull request came in. We were talking about this for a while. The ACO compiler for RADV is basically just a built from the ground up shader compiler specifically targeted at gaming, because the default LLVM compiler is more suited for general purpose and compute. Valve said, well, a lot of the performance bottlenecks comes from the fact that, this driver needs to be improved and focused for gaming. So now the merge request has gone in for Mesa 19.2, I believe. And
no,
that
also
means,
3.
Also 3? Damn it. I just don't know the difference between 2 and 3. It's hard. But yeah, so that will be enabled as of Mesa 19.3. You will need to set a command line option environment variable to trigger that, but it's going to be included. There's also a couple other performance related pull requests that still need to be approved to get the full ACO experience for Radeon, but hopefully that'll get resolved soon. It's really excited if you're a Radeon user under Linux now, because you're getting a lot of the cool toys for Proton.
It has always been part of the same. Yeah, dude. Like for Tinker, Pedro was talking about Tinker Box. You got the right Tinker Box, because
that's precisely why I went with the AMD card.
it wouldn't. It's so true. I mean, they keep backing this up with AMD. AMD's really the one GPU, even back when it was ATI, that it will get faster next year.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You can effectively download more RAM.
Right. Smash that RAM button, fam. Pulseaudio 13. Pedro, you've installed it. You've given it a test, and it's doing things, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
it is doing.
Let me rephrase the more fucked up things than normal Pulseaudio.
Yes, it is Pulseaudio after all. But yeah, it is doing some interesting things. And yes, Pulseaudio 13, it's out now. If you're running something rolling like Solus or one of the Arch-based distros, you probably already have it. They added stuff for Dolby True HD and improved 5.1 channel routing, and a couple of other things. I got a little bit worried when I read the bit
Why are they dropping
Bluetooth
Z4 support?
Because Blue Z5 is a thing now.
Hipster.
But yeah, I read about the Bluetooth. It's like, oh, Bluetooth card profile choices aren't persistent anymore by default. It's been years of that crap being broken, and now that it's actually fixed and it's working properly, and headsets actually default to A2DP and whatnot, and you go and cock it up again? Really? Really?
Pulse gonna pulse, baby.
Yeah, until Pipewire matures, we're stuck with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do give you the option to re-enable the persistency which is the first thing I did is like, oh, that's how you re-enable it. All right. Drop that into the config file, reboot. There we go.
But I really like what it did to your microphone input. That's,
oh, yeah. So this AT2020.
never heard of it. What is it?
The T Brown Memorial.
Yes.
Oh wait, no, it's not the T Brown Memorial Mark anymore.
It's plugged into Behringer UM2. No, this is the Chris B Memorial microphone.
R.I.P.
This is the XLR version. And it's plugged into a UM2 Behringer sound
interface is the word you're searching
interface,
for.
yes.
Interface.
And the interface technically shows up as a stereo input device to the system. One of the line-ins being the microphone, the other one being whatever you plug into it. And the microphone, by default, only sounds on the left channel, and the other line-in sounds on the right channel. I got around that on previous versions of Pulseaudio by going into Pavu control and setting the input to just mono.
Mm-hmm.
That's gone now. If you go into your input list, at least for the UM2, it says stereo only, bitch.
It actually does say bitch in there.
Yeah, there's a comma, man. I'm like, geez, way to drive it home, guys.
Very aggressive Pulseaudio devs. Leonard, what the hell's going on?
Dude.
Yeah, seriously, where did my mono go?
Oh,
That's
don't worry.
the show title.
You'll catch it again. I have faith. It'll catch back up. One thing we do love is Godot, and did they finally hit their Patreon goal to get the extra developer? Yes,
they did.
Good on that. Fantastic work going on. And Tom Lees is like, hey man, I use Godot for kind of an interesting use case.
Yeah. As it turns out, he likes to tinker around. Every now and then he feels a little bit motivated to create things. And when that particular itch strikes more to the like interactive video game building side, he likes to use Godot. He uses Godot with Sea Lion, so that's Rust for you and me. And he says, like, without even like being an actual game developer and doing this for a living, if you've done any sort of game development in the past, even if it was just like
GD script, I always say goddamn script every time I see that. It's
Goddamn
not that
script,
bad
man.
either. I mean, it's perfectly usable.
Yeah, he mentions that if you ever did anything like that, that you probably know the basics a lot better than you actually think you do. And Godot, in his example, was a bit of software that respected what he knew, and it made it very easy for him to actually get into and just start creating. And that's awesome to see.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even more awesome when people are actually having a good time using Godot. More people should.
Dude.
Yeah, the thing for me was like I don't usually see Rust being considered as like a game development language. Usually it's just for like application development. But lo and behold, Godot supports it and supports it fairly well. So good on them. More reason why you should use Godot if you're thinking of learning how to make games.
It's I think at this point it's a very valid option. You know, it is moved out of the this is a prototype thing that we're kind of playing around with, and you know, it's mature. It's very mature, but don't like you can safely build on it now. Especially, you know, I'd like to see Vulkan a bit more mature than it currently is, but
they're working on that.
Yeah. So awesome news all around. It's great to see somebody being able to walk into it, pick it up, and like, hey, I got this, because I love programs like that. I love them. Audor was like that. You know, everyone has that program that you just jive with on day one. You're like, yeah, you're just doing things like I would want it to. Oh yeah, done. You know, that's like my love for Audor, my love for DaVinci. I'm like, yeah, yeah, you just get a toggle switch for that. Neat, done. So,
can you get some satisfaction?
no, man, you can't get any satisfaction, man, because the Blizz, he comes straight with his message. All right.
He tries, and he tries, and he tries, and he tries.
We talked about last week. There was a DDoS attack against the, people trying to play WoW Classic, and it was affecting Linux users because the TTL setting, and so you just had to go to IPv6 or you had to change that. But just to maybe give everyone a little satisfaction. They Blizzard came out, the community manager on their forum organ was like, yo, check this out. We think we've got the track down, man. Their security teams worked with international law enforcement to track down the source of the DDoS. It's our understanding that within a few days, authorities will kick in this dude's house, hold him down, and I'm making that part up, but we can all dream. Successfully identify and arrest the suspect. We really appreciate your patience. So maybe a little like, well, at least they got him.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
So allegedly.
As far as the moderator is trying to say to appease the community, yes.
Wait, I'm sorry. Granted, I'm unfamiliar with the Blizzard community, but do they normally just call for blood?
Probably.
Step one.
These are the people that play World of Warcraft.
That's kind of my point.
So the
do they
question
take a break from like their knitting and
yeah. Yeah, you gotta grind those knitting levels. My question was, are they still blocking the default Linux TTL though? And apparently the answer is no. So if you you can go reset that sysctl setting and go back to doing what you were doing before in WoW Classic, waiting in line to kill a boar.
I think that's pretty cool.
You know,
hey.
If there's a positive out of all of this is that Blizzard, at least this time around, it didn't take them 6 months to actually own up and correct the situation.
And yes, Syrian, DDoSing anything is, you can spend some happy fun time.
Yeah, it really does depend on the jurisdiction because different countries will have different like cybercrime laws, but generally, if there's malice involved, it's kind of illegal.
Yeah, I mean, they usually will shave your toes for that. Check this out. If you want to customize your gerbil, what is gerbil? You have some extra buttons, like I found with my Illicom, this glowing red HAL 9000 trackball. Put them to use. It's really easy to do. Turns out, hey, are you going to play that? No, you're not, Vivaldi. Eat a dick. Vivaldi, man, it's RNG, but it's pretty easy to do. You can set it up with Xbind keys and XV keyboard. You can grep with Zav, figure it out, plug it in, create a little Xbind keys in your home directories, a little dot file, and you can script this shit. That's where it gets interesting because this is its own little babby scripting language for all of your keyboard commands, and you can just stack them until you get bored. You know, you can make what I wanted to do on the top. My use case, very simple. I needed page up, page down, but you could have that Control-Shift-W butterfly. You can run that command, just tap that key, and it's done. And you don't have to worry about it. I mean, there's nothing extra you have to do. Just locate which button that is, feed the command in, boom, set it to boot. Well, you don't even have to do that. It'll do that. It'll just read the file when it starts. Easy to do, especially if you want to make like leap macros for Farming Simulator.
Or for WoW.
WoW Farming Simulator. Same thing. I mean,
WoW is basically a farming simulator.
The games have been confused before. I mean, between that and Extreme Knitting, yeah.
Extreme Knitting Doom Edition.
Doom, I don't know. Where we go, that Game of the Year edition.
Yeah, you get a little crocheted Doom guy as
you
a
get like
creator
speed
bonus.
needles. Oh man.
Yeah, they just send you some tungsten knitting needles.
That'd be great. Are they enchanted? Fuck yes. All right.
Yes, they are, with blood magic. Speaking of blood magic, you're gonna need some if you want to succeed at the game we're throwing cheers at next. It's Tricky Towers. Interrupting Cow says moo. Welcome back to the CHAIRQASITION, where the accused must survive trial by Fedora, Solus, and Dubois. And then, and only then, can the question be asked, is it fun? This week, we're taking a look at Tricky Towers. You could have bought it this week for $1 on Humble Bundle. It's developed by Weird Beard, done on the Unity engine. You can pick it up for about $15 normally, but you should probably get it for $1. What is it? With your brilliant robe and wizard hat, it's time to build some tricky towers. Stack your bricks in this land of fable, whose marvelous tower will be the most stable. Battle your friends and rise to fame in this frantic physics game. I like the little rhyme there. It's cute.
It's a beautiful limerick.
Indeed. You know what? Eject button. How to run on Debian, Ben?
Over here on thank you for that one. Man, yeah, Debian 10.1, we're rocking that hotness with the 1920X thread ripping box, 32 gigajoules RAM, NVMe drives, 2060, displayed at UHDs and all that fun stuff. It ate dick what it was trying to launch, son. It out of the box is like, nope, not gonna happen. Gonna hang between. Well, first it would only launch in my leftmost monitor. And I'm like, okay, well, if I went to the config file and I dug around, that's Unity 3D, weird beard, tricky towers. Developers, quit using your developer name instead of the name of the damn game. Okay, I get tired of having to go look that up. So I ended up changing. There's Unity select monitor. It was set to not, which is my far left, my show notes. That's in portrait. So it was glitching out. So I set it to 2 because if I tried to set it to 1, it was stuck between this and my UHD monitor. So I could get it in windowed mode on the far right UHD screen and drag it. Eventually play it, but big old fuck you X for makes with the working. That's too much work right there. It is still playable though, because I was able to hack around that, and I can only do it in windowed mode, and it only works on monitor 3. Then with the latest Steam beta, this is something I got to test, man, because this is coming. The overlay just ate poop, doesn't work. Couldn't get into multiplayer games because you got to use the overlay to do that. So I kind of sucked. Rolled back to regular Steam. It worked. I was able to join in Sandy and Jordan on Thursday. Performance-wise, it runs like you would expect, man. Hovers just over 300 FERPs at 1080p on the 2060 graphics. It looks like a well-done mobile game. I mean, it's not amazing. That's not a knock on it. I mean, it looks fair enough. Scaled, however you want to do it. Controls out of the box with the X-Clone. Wireless controller. Didn't have to do anything. So I can hook you up with 3 on that hotness.
Yeah, on Fedora 30. Bleh. Fedora 30 64-bit with the i7-6700K GTX 1080 Ti. Yeah, it launches. The overlay is a little temperamental on the beta. It also has an issue I'll bring up in a second. Performance-wise, at 1080p, yeah, it's a mobile game. My 1080 Ti crushes it. Also, tied 200 to 300 FPS at UHD. It's nice. Graphics, yeah, it's blocks. Blocks, man. So control-wise, it does, I find at least on the beta, it does the ultimate chicken horse thing where the first thing you input commands with is what you're using to actually control the game with. Also, it gets a little tricky, at least in the latest beta client with the Steve overlay, in the sense that, Brain, you have to constantly reset the controller config via Steam. But that's not really an issue for people who just use the standard client. And yeah, controls work out of the box perfectly fine. I will give it 4 chairs.
Yeah, and over here in Solus Land, it does launch, but more on that later. The performance, yeah, it hangs around 300 FPS at UHD, 3840 by 2160. Didn't bother to try 1080p because, yeah, if it was doing that good at UHD, it's fine. Graphics, well, it has issues remembering your full screen settings, as in it doesn't at all. There's also the fact that the overlay only works if you're in windowed mode. If you so much as even look at the full screen option wrong, the overlay will stop working. And it has some issues, but they're all, I guess, passable. And for controls, the DualShock 4 worked out of the box. So as far as I'm concerned, it gets 3 chairs.
All right, well, there you go. It kind of works sometimes. What about fun? Ben, did you enjoy your trickiness?
Lads, all right, here's one thing. All 3 of us are coming at this. This game cost us $1 because this was not something we would even bother testing out for $14, but I'm glad we did. You know what? I'm glad we did, because what do we have here? Check it out. It's a party game, plain and simple. This is not something that you're going to sit down and play in your forever alone mode by yourself, hours and hours and hours on end. Because if you do, take off your human skin mask, grab a shower, and seek professional fucking help. That said, this is the kind of RNG bullshit simulator that I can actually get into. 100%. It's block fall, you stack, gravity kicks you in the dick, and you make feeble attempt to correct, resulting in more block falling. The game. Did I miss anything? All right, fair enough. There are a few game modes, maybe you want to call it that, but they're a little more than just a rule set swap. The whole getting kicked in the dick mechanic, that remains in place. That's a constant. You don't have to worry about that wavering at all. Having online multiplayer, thank you. 100% win. I consider that a win. Getting everyone into the game, simple enough. Didn't have to jump any hoops. Looking at you, Shadow Warrior 2. But to put a bow on it, again, this is a party game. It's great. Just keep this around. You catch this on sale, even at $14.99 if you regularly have people over, or if you have a group to play with, 4 people, on the off chance you feel like socializing, this will take care of that. So 100%, a very unexpected, maybe biased, but what we paid for it, a solid 3.
Yeah, like I said on Thursday, this game is very tricky, and this game superficially, very, very superficially looks like Tetris, but will actively punish you for trying to play it like it is Tetris. And yeah, like Ben said, it's an okay party game. Get some folks together, and it's actually really fun. The single player is what you're watching right now, is what Pedro's doing. And yeah, it's just basically a collection of challenges, like try to get a tower to a certain height in a certain amount of time, or try and build your tower under a specific level or you'll lose, or so other stuff of that particular sort. I find that it's just a little boring on its own, though. I think my opinion would have changed a little bit if I had done the single player before the multiplayer, but we just, I mean, it was $1, so I'm like, yo, Sandy, you want to play? And he's like, yeah, I want to play.
Yeah, we straight up went into this as is tradition. I was like, fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. And from that perspective, it's perfectly fine. It's fun when you have some people around, but the problem becomes, when you got to play it on its own. That's sort of where the game fails to hold up. I'll give it 2 chairs, just because, yeah, if you're playing it in the proper context with other people, it's great because you can shit talk. Otherwise,
Yeah, this game is anti-Tetris. It's just like Tetris in its block shapes and stacking mechanics, but the goal is to get as high as possible without the pieces dropping out the side, which is something
like
that you can't do in Tetris because pieces don't fall out the side in Tetris. And they will drop out the side. They'll drop out the side all the goddamn time, and it's just as annoying the first time. Yeah.
Left side.
It's just as annoying the first time as it is on the umpteenth fucking time, because they're going to drop outside a lot. And at least I will give it to the game that at least the physics are consistent, because if you keep doing the same thing, you will keep getting the exact same results. The physics are pretty much, if not spot on, at least reliable. And yeah,
it's just way too entertaining to watch.
You can't bullshit your way to the top to get to the end of like any given level.
Bondage
at least
brick.
Not reliably. Sometimes you can almost do it. But yeah, it is fun playing it in Forever Alone mode like I am, if you're watching the video version. But it gets a bit infuriating. It is a game that I would recommend, like, pick it up, play it for like 20 minutes at a time. But I did enjoy it. It's just that it can get a bit infuriating at times. 3 chairs.
Well, there you go. It's all right if you pick it up for $1. Maybe if you're paying full price, your opinion may differ.
Well, I mean, there's strategy to it at some point, but I feel like the more, because you have different types of bricks, you have different type of, you have like good magic and fuck your friends over magic.
Yeah.
Which is good because a lot of times that'll even backfire on you. Then you have like vines and sticky bricks and like jumbo bondage bricks.
Or like the thing you screwed over your friend with actually helps them win. That's the thing that happens sometimes.
And then you can just straight up bullshit your way through it. When I was playing with you and Sandy, that one I won where I was like balanced on nothing, man. I had a tower of bullshit that was somehow still like falling as the counter, and I still got it. So great party game. I'm going to stick by that.
All right. Well, coming up next, we talk about Ven's choice of capture cards and why they're incorrect, and the awesomeness that is Kernel 5.3.
And with that, we're out. It's been an interesting show. Well, it's been a passable show. It's LinuxGameCast. What did you expect? But hey, chances are you probably expected some kind of venereal disease or some mispronunciation thereof. If you did, you can go to LinuxGameCast.com, hit the contact button, and fill out the form. Just make sure you're sending those bits of...
Listen, I want you to be my Ven pal?
There you go. You can be Ven's pal by going to linuxgamecast.com, hitting the contact button, picking LGC Weekly from the thing, and filling out the form. It's very easy to do. We'll make sure to tell Ven exactly why Morgan Freeman would not like to be his friend. That wasn't very good. Like,
we're gonna get so much hate mail next week for this. It's gonna be hilarious. Like at minimum 2 death threats.
Dude, all right.
Okay, I can deal with 2.
2. I mean,
it's a conservative level.
Hopefully not Don Rickles' ghost. Capture cards. On this topic, which I know a little bit about, why don't you get an Elgato capture card since they are way cheaper and support 4K at 60? Now,
well,
go ahead, Mr. Capture Card. Take it away. I was
just going to say, you know that Elgato is Spanish for the cat.
I thought it was for Clamato. I thought that was Clamato.
Clamadia, yes.
Clamadio.
Dude, I thought I was drinking cat this whole time, man. You've crushed my reality. Boo. No, to be real for a second, the only problem I have with Elgato is they don't fucking work on Linux because they don't have shit for drivers, and there's like a half reverse engineered one for the last generation. Fuck them. Blackmagic.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Why I happily have given Blackmagic, well, I didn't give Blackmagic any money. I'm not going to do that until I buy DaVinci Resolve, but they've had Linux drivers since for fuck ever, man. And as we've established, they just work TM. I was like, well, that's boring. How about 2 then? I bet you. Oh, all right. I got you now, bitch. I'm going to put 3. Oh, all right. Well, double that.
Up next, we got.
Hang up. Calm the fuck down, Cheese.
No, I'm so agitated. Morgan Freeman has got me excited.
Another good solution, Pedro. You have the same thing I have with the HDMI capture cards, and they work well enough for the price, right?
Yeah, for those USB 3 ones, it's like, you can get yourself like 50 pounds, get yourself a USB 3 card that does 1080p at 60, and you can plug any remote device to
HDMI
your box and get that in.
Yeah, do 4K 60, but you're not going to be doing 4K. If you buy something that says 4K 60 over USB 3, it's full of lies and compression.
Yeah.
Also, well, I see the PCI devices that are like, the PCI by 4, the little tippy toes. That can't do 4K UHD 3040 by 2160 30, much less 60, unless it's just been pixel smashed, man.
Yeah, if it's doing some compression there.
If you're doing 1080p 60 10-bit, that's maxing out at 30 on by 4. So keep that in mind. LGC cares. What do we got up next?
Up next, Joseph has sent us some mail about the new kernel. 5.3 provides initial support for the AMD Navi GPUs and the AMD GPU driver, right? Is it safe to buy an AMD RX 5700 now? Does Mesa work reliably now? By the way, I run Arch. No, it's never safe to buy an AMD RX 5700 because that thing will stab you in the taint. They don't mess around. They are
Sometimes
dangerous cards, and they are
wrong.
violent hardware.
What about... Oh, no, just wait, because that's what a lot of people about to buy video cards or other products are like, I'm just going to wait, man.
I mean, in this case, you probably should, because if you're hoping for a out-of-the-box Navi experience under Linux, you're going to be in for a bit of a rough time. There's still some AMD GPU stuff that needs to happen in Mesa. There's still some bugs that need to be fixed in the kernel, because, as you mentioned, it is the initial support. They're going to be fixing stuff as they go. I'd say probably like 3 months is a good wait time to get like something.
Well, okay, if you're running Arch, how is Arch on kernels? Pretty up to date?
Fairly up to date.
Okay, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. If you're looking for an adventure right now, yes.
I would be curious to hear about how exactly AMD GPU Pro, the proprietary driver, is working right now, because that's the only way you're going to get that card running. And yes, that will work, but I am curious to see exactly how, because I still remember FGLRX.
It's probably a lot better. The game performance is not going to be that. If you're buying this, what I'm guessing, watching LinuxGameCast, is more towards gaming. The Pro driver, if you're going to be doing Blender work or editing like with DaVinci or something, compute, OpenCL, that's going to be your business anyway. You're not going to bother with the open source business. So yeah, just keep that in mind, man. I think, Jordan, you're right, man. About 3-4 months, let that get settled in.
Especially once like the ACO stuff gets mainlined as well, because that's really where the special sauce is for AMD. Like, oh, you're gonna get ridiculous bulk and performance,
and you get to play with Wayland out of the box. This is what I'm really happy about. Is it will legitimately be a full 3D stack that's just stick it in, cut it on, done.
Plug it in. Yeah, plug and play.
Kind of like us, man. You can just stick us in, plug us into something, cut us on, right?
It probably will be. It'll probably be about as equally satisfying as trying to plug it in RX 5700 now.
Ladies and gentlemen, on that bombshell, that music has been cued because we get the fuck up out of here. Come holla at your boy Vin Mintz. Yo, smash that Pedro, fam.
Yeah, smash me real good.
Be quiet, zombie Morgan Freeman. Hey, if you want to get hold of me, I'm at Vin Stone on Twitter. That's pretty much where I hang out. We have mass.linuxgamecast.com. I'm at Vin there. That's like my more personal one, since my personal Twitter account is just turned into the shows. So that's how that happened. True story.
I'm Jordan Svung. I'm the guy who showers in a 3-piece suit.
The one who showers.
I'm the one who showers here.
Slayer of ostrich.
You can find me on Twitter at the Burning Troller, on our Mastodon. Mass.linuxgamecast.com. I'm at Frojo. Gotta roll that R, fam.
Yes, roll that R like you're Portuguese. I am Pedro Mateus.
See, I told you say it with a stutter, man, and it works.
I'm Brazilian, so that counts.
Look, it takes a while for my brain to go from English to Portuguese, so hey, if you'd like to see some more English to Portuguese shenanigans, feel free to follow me on Twitter. That's at unaccounted4, that's FOUR, because someone already had the number 4. Dude,
we learned a lot of stuff tonight, man. Wombat poop, ostriches,
emus,
right?
Chlamydia.
Y'all need to tune in live.
No, you don't, man. No, you're better for it. All right, let's roll some credits and thank the people who make this nonsense possible. Whoa, that's kind of big, isn't it?
It's so
just a little bit. Very precariously beat.
Yep.
Man, good luck.
G. It's everyone's favorite show. L.
Wee.
Well, we got to thank guys like Arthera and Mr. Foxdog and Mr. Michael Tehan and the Atomic Ass, Michael G, Barbramp, Aldius, Haplo Macgeek, Scoots Drummer, and the producers who are many, like Renaud LePage and Lutris Strider and
all
Paul,
the old producers are
and
awesome.
The Admiral JT and Rudy
Steve.
And that other Jordan
More
C.
Steve. We got multiple Steves. We have Steves in stereo. Along
We got Brad Massavoni, Christopher
Jack,
Gonzo 2000.
Frizo, Jill,
Adrian. Some of the skulls.
You gotta tap that swamp for the dark ritual. Summon Frank.
He's a shy bitch sometimes, man.
I think he's just a bitch all the time, though.
He walks around the house naked, so he shouldn't be. I mean,
Frank is playing hard
cover
to
your
get.
shame, Frank.
No.
Yeah, man.
Don't let Jordan put you down.
Listen, I'm gonna fat
Let your
shame Frank.
Frank flag fly.
Frank Frag
Seriously,
Fry.
thank you everyone for making this bit of insanity possible.
Bye.
Die in a fire, everyone.
See ya.
5 dudes.